Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel, and this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous night of the local time. And of course, first of all, we need to move Prigozhin back to Russia, because as you know, during the previous night, during the previous evening, as a result of some accident that took place in Tver region, the business jet of the businessman fell down and destroyed. As a result of that accident, Yevgeny Prigozhin was killed. Of course, there were a lot of talks, a lot of rumors, a lot of speculations on that topic. And some people were saying that that was operation of Ukrainian special forces. Some people are saying that there was a bomb on board. Other people are saying that there were too many people in Russian Federation, like Shoigu and Gerasimov, the head of Russian armies, who wanted his death. It's very difficult to judge and very difficult to make any conclusions regarding this situation. But the only thing I can tell you, the two things that I can tell you, that the first one, that there are too many people who want him dead. And it's the first thing, and the second thing, that obviously Yevgeny Prigozhin was killed. And not just him, because he is like the media boss of the Wagner group. There were two people who run the company. The first one is Yevgeny Prigozhin. The second one, on this photo you see Vladimir Putin with some guys behind him, and if you take a look at the photo, there is a man on the right of this photo, as the tallest one. And this is Dmitry Utkin. This is the deputy commander, of Prigozhin, and basically this man was served in Russian special forces, in Russian intelligence reconnaissance forces, and basically exactly this man has the nickname on the ground Wagner, and basically the private military campaign Wagner has the title of him. So basically there are two bosses of Wagner. Prigozhin was media boss. He was responsible for media things, and he was responsible as a director, as a main executor of the company, and so on. But the main military specialist, main military executor, and the person basically who's responsible for every single military operation was Dmitry Utkin, and by the nickname of Wagner. So he is, like, we can say, the first man, but he was like great cardinal, who was always behind Prigozhin, and basically there are two, as you know, there were two planes who were heading from Moscow in direction of St. Petersburg, and this is not like there is like a reason for using two planes. Usually due to the security reason, the head of Wagner's never fly at the same plane because of many risks and so on, of being shot down or something like this, or of any kind of accident. I believe that that was not the first time when the head of Wagner's broke the rule and used the same plane, but according to the protocol they should have flied using two different planes, and for some reason at some moment they took a decision to fly together, and basically as a result of one small accident event, the plane fell down and the entire head of Wagner was destroyed. The entire head of the buses, the main buses of Wagner, was destroyed, were killed, were destroyed, or died. I don't know, very difficult to understand for now. I believe that the Russian investigators will provide us more details about the situation, but anyhow, for now we have what we have. One more time, too many people want them dead, too many people, and of course there are protocols in Wagner's, in case of death of the head of Wagner's. Anyway, I believe that some actions have already been taken or implemented, but anyway, one star, one icon on the ground on the Russian military campaign have disappeared, and probably for this purpose we can remove Prigozhin as well, because I don't think that he's alive. Prigozhin, bye-bye. And that's it. From the next video we're going to see no more Prigozhin on the map. Today is the Independence Day in Ukraine, and that means that the Ukrainians have prepared to this holiday very well. The death of Prigozhin, the fall of Robotyna, and many other different events, of course, turned or to break the entire media situation in Ukrainian favor. I'm telling you that, for example, the Ukrainians had a lot of losses on the combat line, but those events will break the situation. And currently, either the Russians and the Ukrainians express different feelings. For example, the Ukrainians have some patriotic race and they have increased their spirit and so on. And this situation with Robotyna, with Prigozhin, of course, allowed the Ukrainians to launch, let's say, something like another mobilization, and people will accept this because of successful events on the front line, let's call it like this. And the same situation with the Russians. I read the Russian Telegram channels. They're very angry, very upset, and they're also ready for some different and more aggressive actions from their side. I can't tell you that whether the Russians or the Ukrainians will announce mobilization or will make some decision for some actions during the next days, but I believe that the next days are the best time, is the best time if they want to do anything like this, and probably we're going to see this. And now let's start with the situation on the ground. And first, of course, let's start with Robotyna. I have already updated the map in the vicinity of the settlement. The Russians currently controls just a few streets and probably even less. Maybe the Russians were forced to step back from the settlement at all, but we haven't received any video or photo confirmation from the very southeastern part of the settlement. So let's let's mark at least one street still under Russian control. The Ukrainians have captured the central area. Today they will continue, and currently the story with Robotyna will remind us the same situation as Urozhaine. The northern part, the central part is of Urozhaine were and is, and Robotyna as well under Ukrainian control. The southern part, the Russians will start to bomb attack, but I don't think that the Russians will counterattack in this area. There is no sense. There is no sense to counterattack, because in case of counterattacks, the Russians gonna have a lot of losses. So in this case, the better situation, the better thing the Russians can do is to back to Novopokrovka and to try to hold the Ukrainians on the next defense belt that lays between the settlements like Kopony, Novopokrovka, and try to Verbova. So this is this next defense belt that the Russians need to hold during the next Ukrainian counteroffensive operations. Russians published the video how during the previous days they were trying to shut down the Ukrainians' armored vehicles with Krasnopol Ukrainian artillery system that were heading and moving to the south to support the Ukrainian offensive operation in the settlement. Now we also, during the previous day, we got some videos of bombings and shellings against the Ukrainian positions in Orekhov. On this video we can see how the Russians discovered and destroyed ammo depot in a truck, who was moved the ammo depots from one position, munition from one position to another. As a result of strike, that system was destroyed. And the Russians published the video of bombings and destroy Ukrainian Hovitsa 2S1 somewhere on the north of Petykhatki in the vicinity of Lapkovo. As a result of artillery duels, that system was destroyed as well. The next area we're going to talk about is Kherson direction. We have a lot of very interesting updates, and the most important probably that during the previous day another S-300 system was destroyed in the vicinity of Nikolaev. And during the previous few weeks, this is not the first case of destroyed S-300. This is the second case, as you can see, as a result of Su-34 using 4 missiles X-35 destroyed 2 launching system S-300 and 1 radar of that system. And as one more time, this is not the first case of such a situation in this area. Few weeks ago, exactly almost the same time, a little bit to the north, to the south, the Russians destroyed another S-300 system. So we understand that this area is very important for the Ukrainians. No matter the situation, they're moving more and more S-300 systems, trying to protect and to secure the way towards the western part of Ukraine from the southern area. So that was probably a very important victory for the Russian missile air forces. So we'll see what is going to be next. Of course, a lot of people expect that today the Russians, as an act of revenge, will start bombing and shelling Ukraine with missiles. But first of all, it's better to complete the investigation and to find the real reasons of the situation that took place with the bosses of Wagner. Very fierce clashes continues in the vicinity of Oleshki Antonov bridgehead. And the Russians published the video how they were bombing the Ukrainian positions in the vicinity of the bridge, which confirms that Ukrainians controls not just the area below the bridge, but also the entire residential area around this small foothold. And on this video we see the strike against the building on the southern part of this residential area of Dachi, of the settlement by the name of Dachi. The Ukrainians from their side were attacking and bombing the Russian checkpoints along the road. We will not see the video because of violence against people. There are bombings. The Russians continue bombing and attacking the Ukrainian positions in the settlements like Berislav and Novoberislav. The Ukrainians continue accumulation of their forces on this bank of the river. As you can see, the level of water in Dnieper fell down, and I'm not sure that Ukrainians can cross this area. But anyway, as we discussed, probably the next year this entire area will be completely covered with the grass, and the chances of a successful crossing will be increased. And maybe the next year the Ukrainians will make attempts to cross this area and to attack the Russians on their bank of the river. But for now they're just accumulating their forces that later they are sent somewhere to the south in direction of Kazatska and Mykolaiivka, and maybe then the Ukrainians will try to make another crossing operation, another attempt to capture some settlement on the Russian side of the Dnieper River. Now we are moving to Urozhaina. From this bridge we haven't received nothing during the previous night. The Ukrainians continue establishing their control over their positions, accumulating of the critical mass, and soon they're going to make another attempt to continue their offensive operation in direction of Zavitna Bazhanya. When talking about Bakhmut, almost nothing happened during the previous night, just the video from the Russian side how they were attacking and bombing the Ukrainian positions in the vicinity of Ivanovskaya. Interesting updates are coming from Verkhnyakamyanka Seversk bridgehead. Another drones attacks. The Russians and the Ukrainians try to attack each other. The Ukrainians intensifying their actions against the Lysychansk oil refinery. Almost every single day we're getting more and more videos about the strikes in the settlement. If we increase the number of days, we're gonna see that the Ukrainians are pretty concentrated in this area. Probably the Russians have accumulated their forces, or probably some Ukrainian forces were deployed in this area with the drone squad inside of it. Anyway, we see that the Ukrainians pay a lot of attention to this region, and probably there are very high chances that after small drone preparation, the Ukrainians will try to make even something bigger than just drone attacks. They will try to attack the Russians with infantry, or maybe will make a small assault operation. The Russians from their side published the video how they were bombing and attacking the Ukrainians from the Sporna to Berestova along this forest line, which confirms the Ukrainian control over these positions. When talking about Kupinsk Liman, we haven't received nothing during the previous day. One more time, today is Independence Day of Ukraine, and I believe that probably the Ukrainians today will not do any big actions. They have everything they needed. They have created and made before that day. They have destroyed, or maybe they're not, but anyway, the death of Prigozhin is a very big present to the Ukrainians due to this holiday, the fall of Robotyne. They have a lot of things. Everybody expects the Russians' next move, and the next move will depend on the conclusions of investigators who currently try to understand what was the real reason of the fall of the business jet, of the buses of Wagner, and if they have information that that Ukrainians have some connections to the situation. Of course, today we can expect some missile strike all over the entire Ukraine. But if investigators will not, if they can't find any connections, then I'm not sure that anything is going to happen with Ukraine. And that's it for this short video. Military Summary channel reminds you to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.